Hello, and welcome to another webinar by XTM International. Today, we're going to talk about managing subcontracting in XTM. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sofia Bolontrade, and I'm a member of the experts team at XTM. Before we start, I would like to mention a few housekeeping rules. This webinar is being recorded. You will receive the recording afterwards, and you will also be able to access it in the future through XTM On Demand. If you haven't done so yet, please visit our website and register to access XTM's webinars. This will give you free access to past webinars on different subjects. All participants are muted by default. If you wish to ask a question, please do so via the chat panel. I will try and answer your questions at the end of this session. So let's start today with our topic, managing subcontracting in XTM. The agenda we will go through has been specified in this slide. We will start with an overview of what it means subcontracting, its advantages, how to set up an LSP, and we will also set up a project and monitor its progress. That being said, let's start. Maybe you know, or maybe you don't know, that with XTM, it is possible to connect your XTM system to other XTM systems and allocate tasks in your workflow to another language service provider or receive tasks from other language service providers. When talking about subcontracting, we will be using the following terminology. Contractor is a company sending a project, for example, an enterprise. Subcontractor is a company receiving a project. And LSP, which stands for Language Service Provider and is in fact another name for subcontractor. They may be used interchangeably. Let's review the diagram we can see here. On the one hand, we have the contractor XTM instance where main PMs log in and create and manage their projects, as well as the main translators. This could be, for example, in-house linguists or in-country reviewers. On the other hand, we have the subcontractor's XTM instance where subcontractor PMs and linguists log in to process the tasks they have been assigned to them. And both are connected. The enterprise can assign tasks to the LSP, and then the LSP will send them back. Now, let's discuss the advantages of subcontracting. Among those, we can mention, for example, that files reside only on customer XTM instance. That is, files reside in the main XTM instance. In the project I will be showing you today, files reside in XTM-5. Another advantage is downloading for offline translation can be turned off. XTM has a capability of allowing the download of bilingual files so that they are processed offline using an editor. This can be switched off, so potentially, if you have highly confidential documents or anything like that you don't want to go offline, this can be disabled globally. Secure HTTPS communication. We use a secure HTTPS communication, so always when doing subcontracting, it is very, very secure and there is complete process transparency. Anonymization of resources and rates. This means that when the contractor sends a task to an LSP and the LSP sends it to a linguist, the contractor cannot see the name of the linguist actually working on the files and his rate. Also, the linguist cannot see how much the contractor paid the LSP for the task. Allows for daisy chain and customization of workflows. This means the contractor can allocate the jobs to more than one LSP, and we have the ability to daisy chain. So we can allocate a task to LSP1, which is a multilingual vendor, and this particular multilingual vendor will outsource it to a single language vendor. That is, we are subcontracting to LSP1, and then they can allocate the job to another vendor, either a translation company or freelancer. Alternatively, they can have their internal linguist, and this linguist can log in and process a task. All this is completely anonymous. The contractor will not know who the multilingual vendor assigned the task to. Also, if the contractor assigns a task to more than one LSP, LSP1 will not know which ones are the rest of the LSPs. All access rights and settings are cascaded from the contractor to the multilingual vendor, and then to the single language vendor, or to the linguist processing the files. Linguists log into the subcontractor instance. The linguist opens up the workbench using internal APIs that are directed back into the main instance. This is why we say the files and everything remains in the main system. You will learn more about these advantages as we progress with this webinar. Having mentioned the advantages of subcontracting in XTM, let's see now how to set up an LSP. Here, I will log in, and you can see that here I'm logged in with my enterprise instance, which is XTM-5. I'm an admin, which is the highest level of user within XTM, but also I have other several roles like PM, linguist, TM expert, and terminologist. So I have all rights. Depending on the roles each user has been assigned, they may see more or less modules, depending on the case. Modules are represented here in the top bar. The first step is to check in the system is set up to do subcontracting. We need to make sure that we have checked this function here, enable subcontracting. That is, language service providers may be connected to XTM using subcontracting mechanisms, which means they can work in their XTM instance connected to your XTM instance after they have been given licenses by you or because they already have their own licenses. To add an LSP, you need to come to the users module, and there you will see the user list. They are the internal users. We also have user groups. We can use these groups and send tasks to different individuals. And we also have LSPs. These are the 3 LSPs I had set up for the time being. To add one, we need to click on Add LSP button here, enter the mandatory information like company name and last name of your point of contact, and his or her email. In many cases, we recommend that you use an alias as a best practice, rather than just an email address, so that the XTM notifications reach to more than one person. Once you press Add, we will see several side menus open up. That is, more options will be displayed below General. Let's see one that has already been set up. I will go here to my LSP, Sophia LSP. And for example, here under LSP type, you can select whether you will be sending tasks to the LSP or if you will receive tasks from them. Under licenses, you will decide if you will allow this LSP to use your licenses for subcontracted work. This is optional. You can lend them some or not. You can set up the system so that they can use all your licenses or a limited number. Be aware the LSP will only be able to use your licenses for processing the tasks you have assigned them. They will not be able to process tasks from other customers using your licenses. Also, you can select that only when they have run out of their own licenses, they can use yours. Once you have made the decision, you can press Send Email for the two-way connection between the contractor and the subcontractor to be established. So an email is sent from the system to the person or alias that has been specified in the general section. In this email that you can see in my presentation, the subcontractor will receive step-by-step instructions on how to establish this connection. Here, we can consider two possible scenarios. If the subcontractor, well, the LSP, don't use XTM, they need to subscribe to XTM, set up an account, and follow the instructions. This will allow them to create a subcontracting account, which is a limited version. It allows them to receive tasks from you, manage and work on those tasks. And if they already have an account, they will log in to their account and follow the instructions. That is, they will need to copy the connection information from your server. You, as an enterprise, as a contractor, you will see the information here. And in the case of an LSP, they will take this information from the automatic email and place it in the section of the connection tab. Then they press save, and the connection has been established. You can see the icon here in green showing that the two-way connection has been established. Before establishing the connection, it was in red. And the languages, we can specify the languages the LSP will be working with. In the rate card section, we have the sample rate card. The rate card is a price list from the LSP. That is, you receive information on how much they charge per workflow step, per language combination for specific subject matter, and you add this info online. This way, the project cost can be successfully estimated when the tasks are being assigned to this LSP. XTM allows you to get the cost ahead of time. So here, we state the rates, we add the language combination, a description if we want, subject matter. And here, we can decide, do we want to calculate the price using factors or using the actual price? In the case of factors, we have a base rate. So then we can state that for a no match, for example, we can pay 100% of the base rate. We can also specify if there is a fixed price per project, if there are any management fees being included, etc. Once all has been entered, then we press save. Then here, access rights has to do with customizing the different areas of the system and giving them access or not. For those who are new to XTM, customer is where assets are stored. For an LSP, it is highly probable the customers will be those customers they supply services to, their external customers. When talking about subcontracting mechanism from the point of view of the contractor, the client of an LSP, a customer may be defined by the kinds of content or a department or a business unit. It depends on how you want to structure or organize your translation memories on terminology. If you don't specify a customer, then the user will be available to work on projects for all customers. When a user has access to all customers, they will also get access to newly created customers. When some customers have been selected from the list, the user will have access only to the selection. When it comes to LQA, when you give a user access rights to show LQA results for an evaluee or evaluator, an additional LQA section is visible on their task tab. Depending on their rights, the tab displays projects in which the user was involved as an evaluee, as an evaluator, or both sections. When it comes to terminology and translation memory, you can specify what an LSP can do. LSPs always work in their instance of XTM. They don't access your instance. However, they may have access to the TMs or terminology based on their rights, based on the access rights you give them. Also, you can give them specific rights to all customers or some of them only. The same that applies to terminology applies to the translation memories. Before we move to our next topic, I would also like to mention that once you have set up an LSP, when you go to the configuration module, you will see here the licenses tab. Here you can save some licenses for internal users, and you may have a summary of how many licenses you will allow these LSPs to use for handling subcontracted work. And also, you may make any changes if necessary. Now, let's see how subcontracting works in a real project. Now, we will perform a quick and simple demo. So, to set up a project, we will go to the project module and click on Add Project. We will choose a customer where we want to create the project. In this case, I will select the customer webinar. I will add a name to it. In this case, the project name will be demo. I will add a delivery date, like, okay, in 1 month. And then I have two options. Either I can set up the project from scratch, or I can select a project template. In this case, I will select my project template here, add the files I want to translate, and create my project. My project has been created here, and we can see that under General Info, I can make any edits I want in the project. For example, I can add more languages, I can choose another project manager, change the due date, add reference materials, etc. All the settings here are viewable to you, but the LSP working on the project will only see some of them. So this gives the control to you, the contractor. Now, if we go to workflow, we may observe we have two different workflow steps, and they are already assigned to the LSPs. The information was triggered from the project template I selected. Also, we can see that during the project creation, XTM has calculated the metrics that we can see here and also the costs. The costs were calculated considering the rate cards for the LSPs. Having the exact volumes and the prices the LSP will charge us is enough for XTM to estimate the project costs in a few seconds. Now we will start our project. So notice that the project could have been started automatically if required. We only need to activate the setting in the project template. The green square here signals the LSP is working on the task. That is, they receive an automatic email notification with a task assignment asking them to start working on the file. Now I will log into XTM as if I were the LSP, Sophia LSP in this case. Before I leave this screen, let's check the following. You may see that the contractor company name, in this case, is XTM-5. Also, the logo is a wave here, and the project name is demo. Now I will log out and I will log in as Sophia LSP. Now we can see that the company name has changed. Also, the logo has changed, and we can see our project demo. When we come here to the workflow, we see that only the translation step is visible to us. That is the step that was assigned to us. The LSP doesn't see the full workflow, but only the steps they were assigned. The same happened with the other LSP that was assigned another workflow step. If they want to add an additional step, they will go to Edit Workflow and add a step. Let me add a correction step here, and I will set the due date. And I will assign these steps to my resources. Marta will take care of the translation, and Rafael will take care of the correct step. Okay, now I will go back to the contractors instance, and you will see the fact that an additional step was added by the LSP. Here in the workflow, I see that we have 3 dots. And this says this step was created by the subcontractor, in this case, Sophia LSP. Also, I forgot to mention, the LSP cannot see the total cost of the project for the contractor, and they can assign the task to linguists, and the linguist name and rate will be confidential. It will not be visible to the contractor. That is, XTM-5 doesn't know that Marta and Rafael are really working on those tasks. Now, this time, I will log out and log in as if I were the linguist Marta, who is working on the translation. Here I have my project, demo. Let's show here, this is Marta. This is my workbench, and we have the output from machine translation, yeah, as indicated in the project template. I will just insert a change just for the purpose of this webinar. I will process my strings and press finish. That means I have finalized the translation. I'm happy with the output I'm delivering. Now that I finish my translation, this means that Rafael, doing the correction for the subcontractor account, can start processing his file. So I'm logging out. I will log in as if I were Rafael. I see the project demo. Now I can start working on it. I mean, correcting the output that Marta translated before. I will process a file, and once I'm happy with my output, I will finish the task. Now, the subcontractors of VLSP has finalized the task assigned to them. Now, let me go back to my main instance, to the Sophia LSP instance, in this case, to the subcontractor account, and show you the fact that the progress bar has been updated. Yeah, this is immediately updated as the linguist processes strings. And also, the statistics show here who has been working on each of the files and the step they took care of. The statistics will only become available as soon as some translation steps take place, not before that. So now that Sophia LSP has done the first step, I will log in as the following LSP. If you remember, the translation step was assigned to Sophia LSP, and then the correction step had been assigned to another LSP called just another LSP. Here I have my project. In the workflow, I can see I have to deal with the correction. I will assign it to myself. Let's assume that this is a tiny LSP where the PM also performs some linguistic steps. Here I have the output sent by the LSP Sophia LSP. I will add one more change here in the file. And once I'm happy, I will delete my file. Okay, so now let's go back to the main XTM instance to show which one is a status. As you can see here, we have our project, and it says that the minimum and maximum status is finished. Also, here in the workflow, we see the 2 steps have been finalized, and the progress bar has been updated, and the same happens with the statistics. Also, I want to show you the fact that the last change implemented by the second LSP, just another LSP, is here. Yep. Okay. So now I will check if we have any questions from you. So it seems that there is no questions. Okay, so I will conclude today's webinar. I know it is quite a lot of information. I would like to thank you for attending today's session. And if you have any questions about this webinar or any other aspect of XTM's functionality, please don't hesitate to contact us at experts@xtm.cloud. And also, I would like to remind you that you can take advantage of a free 30-day trial in XTM Cloud. Thank you again, and have a nice rest of the day.